Good morning, folks. It's another bright and sunny, beautiful day in Miami, as always. And this is WDNA 88.9 FM, where we are here live in the Jazz Gallery. Shout out to everyone who's here with us in the audience. And this is the UM Frost Jazz Hour that comes to you every Thursday at 11 a.m. Today, presenting the Wayne Shorter Ensemble under the direction of John Hart, and next week, the debut of Richard Todd Ensemble with 8 French horns with rhythm section, playing the arrangements of program director at Frost and jazz artist Richard Todd. First up on today's show, Lost, followed by Second Genesis. Lost, and Second Genesis, presenting the Wayne Shorter Ensemble under the direction of John Hart here on WDNA's Frost Jazz Hour. How are you doing this morning?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm excellent. You know, I was preparing for the show as I do every week, and I was particularly curious to know what tunes you were going to pick for today because his collection of music is so extensive. So how did you pick the songs for this ensemble?
That's a interesting question because this ensemble, this is already the third performance this group's done this
really?
early in the semester, which is one of the reasons I think they sound so great. This group is really, I think they're very tight. So the first performance, this group played at Gusman Hall opening for the Kenny Wheeler concert with a big band.
Wow.
So they did 3 Kenny Wheeler tunes right in the beginning of the semester. Wayne Shorter Ensemble plays the music of Kenny Wheeler.
I love
Interesting.
it.
So we didn't even get into the Wayne Shorter repertoire till the second week, and we had to do a Frost spotlight performance on Friday immediately, and without having that much time to put together arrangements, we covered most of the album of Juju, which I think we're going to do one of those songs today. So we did that, and then we had this performance coming up. So again, had to get it kind of together quickly. So they're great tunes. Lost is it's almost like you stick the key in the car and go. You don't have to do anything. It's already got a beautiful 3-horn arrangement as part of it. Second Genesis is a newer tune for me. I know the record. I think it's maybe Wayne Shorter. I don't know. You guys might help me with that. Is it his debut? It's not his first record, right?
I think it's his second.
But it's early on his second. I think the first record was introducing Wayne Shorter. And it's very interesting because there's some things very similar to John Coltrane's Giant Steps in the composition Second Genesis. And again, from the band might help me with this. I think he wrote the song, I have to research this, in the late 50s, right? And he and Coltrane were hanging out. So yeah, I always thought Wayne was getting these ideas, these Giant Steps ideas from Coltrane, but maybe they were sharing the information together. Yeah. It's interesting. So that's a fun tune. I think it's a tune that doesn't get played as much, but I think if people were introduced to it, it would become one of the more commonly played Wayne Shorter tunes. So.
Right. And something else that I love about the WDNA Frost Jazz Hour is that, you know, the students have an opportunity to not just play music, but to put together a show.
Right.
Yeah, so when I was thinking of, the first tune, there's no, when you're thinking of these great bands and these jazz legends, first tune, you get on stage, you blow it out of the water from the first tune, and I feel like that's what they did.
Yeah. That's one of the reasons I've picked that tune first, too. It's all there, it's great.
So when you have a band of musicians that are already at such a high level, how do you approach the rehearsals and the classes? What are specific things that you might work on?
I think with a short time preparing the program, we're trying to get the arrangements together, certainly, and just getting the band to blend, really. I think this band has they're really blending really nicely here in the studio with the balance is great with the front line and everything. So a lot of those things, kind of working on getting the feels for the tunes a little bit, and then trying to get everybody to really kind of get deeper into exploring what the music is, how Wayne Shorter and Elvin Jones and the musicians on the records actually played and what kind of feeling they evoked, beyond the lead sheet or the music that the person has from the arrangement. We're trying to get past that, and stuff. Getting beyond. I think with the advanced players, next step trying to go beyond the notes as a teacher, certainly. That's I look at it in that way.
Dynamics. Excellent job. I remember.
Dynamics, all the music, all the musical aspects, that make good music great music. I mean, that's kind of the details too.
Yeah.
Details, there's so much they say God's in the details, right? And so you might not notice those things, but then you're like, boy, this sounds
It's
like
so
a
good.
professional band. This really sounds good. And sometimes it's because a lot of those details are really being taken care of.
I love also the beginning of Lost, how, I don't know, it gives you this feeling of everything's coming in at once, but there's kind of not like a clear boom.
Right.
With everyone's kind of coming in at different parts.
Very mysterious song. That record, The Soothsayer, is one of the great Wayne Shorter records. It was not released. If you can imagine a record, and I talk with my students, there's a bunch of records that came out that were issued in the 70s, late 70s. I think The Soothsayer came out in 1977 or something. But it was recorded in 1965.
I was seeing that
So
too.
if you can imagine like recording a record with music that sounds that great and just saying, oh, we don't need it because there's so much other stuff. And that happened a lot in the Blue Note catalog. There's another great Wayne Shorter record that also was released in the 70s called Etc. Quartet record that has Toy Tune and some other very tunes that are kind of popular Wayne Shorter tunes. So the Soothsayer wasn't released till later. Yeah, great record. I think there might be a little technical issue on one of the tunes, and that might have been one of the reasons. It's also a very interesting record because it pairs up McCoy Tyner and Tony Williams, which you didn't hear, and Ron Carter and Tony Williams, of course, from Miles Davis Band, but now we have McCoy Tyner on piano. So it's a very interesting feel. It's got a little different feel from the other Wayne Shorter records.
Something I've always appreciated about Wayne Shorter's music is I feel like although it was ahead of its time, I always feel like it's so accessible to anyone who's listening to it, especially with the melodies and the way the harmony just supports that.
Right. His the musicians, Wayne Short and the musicians from his generation were all coming out of the Great American Songbook. So they all and I think that's all throughout his music, and sometimes more obvious, sometimes even disguised. Even some of the stuff he wrote for Miles Davis later in the second quintet, you still see this kind of disguised functional harmony and things like that. But they learned, they've kind of learned playing all the popular music of the day, and he came up and playing in the 50s, and the popular music was standards. And so it really informed Wayne Shorter and all the jazz composers of the 60s, Wayne Shorter, Chick Corea, Joe Henderson, the ones we would look at as kind of creating the jazz compositions that everybody plays now, which were different than the standards a little bit, and form and certain modal quality to them sometimes. But there's a lot of, I don't think you can take, they wouldn't exist without coming out of the
For sure.
Great American Songbook and that kind of repertoire that most of the jazz musicians older than them were playing.
Right.
And they were being influenced by. I listen to Lester Young now, I hear Wayne Shorter.
Yeah.
And Lester Young is like, wow, I never really noticed that before, but he's coming, some of it's coming directly from Lester Young. It's crazy.
I love how you say the disguised functional harmony.
Right.
Yeah, such a great way to put it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. We'll be back after this short break with more music, Lady Day, which we'll have some stories about that. Yeah?
Sure.
Okay. All right. We'll see you soon here on WDNA 88.9 FM. are back here on WDNA 88.9 FM, and I almost wish that the audience could hear what you just said. Well, John was just commenting on the ensemble and some of the music that they're playing today. So up next, we have Lady Day, and do we have any stories about that
Well,
tune?
Lady Day, of course, was Billie Holiday's nickname, and Lester Young gave her the nickname. And we think of Wayne, think of Wayne Shorter, a Weather Report, and all this, Miles' Second Quintet. And then what I was talking about before, it's like he's written this tune as a tribute to Billie Holiday, who's one of the greatest giants in jazz. Transcend, she was a singer, of course. She was a huge star too, but I think she kind of transcended even being a singer. She was really considered. She stood on stage with Lester Young as an equal. They were very, very, very close, of course. So, Lady Day was written for Billie Holiday. I'm assuming that's the title of the tune. I'm as the director of the jazz guitar program at Frost. I like to have a guitarist in my ensembles, and I take advantage of writing. Usually, try to write a feature. So I did that with this. This Lady Day is off of the Soothsayer, and it's. I believe it's just a chord. The Soothsayer's got 3 horns, but I believe the ballad's just a quartet on that. So I wrote it with guitar, and I have the ensemble kind of around him.
Beautiful.
We have
I'm
to
so excited.
right. We have to. Looks like we might have to stall for a minute. So if
No,
you
it's
have
all
any
good.
other questions,
Yeah, of course. So you write some of these arrangements, or just does the band come together and write other arrangements? How does it usually
yeah, we
work?
usually have a combination. As I said, we're doing these performances quickly this semester. We haven't had that much opportunity to get arrangements from the band, but normally I do that during the semester. I'll get a lot of student arrangements.
Oh,
It's
that's
great.
great.
This the program today, I kind of wrote just some simple arrangements for some of the tunes, and this one I wrote a year or two ago for the group, and we're doing it again, featuring Osterg on guitar, playing the Wayne Shorter's beautiful melody on that, and with the rest of the band, Lady Day.
All right. Lady Day here on WDNA. under the direction of John Hart here on WDNA 88.9 FM, UM's Frost Jazz Hour. I want to give a quick shout out to the audience members today. It really does make a big difference, playing for a live audience. WDNA listeners, you're always more than welcome. Every Thursday at 11 a.m., the Frost Jazz Hour does happen live in the Jazz Gallery. I'll also take a moment to introduce the members of the band: Alex Lopez, tenor sax; David Galley, alto sax; Brody Segan, trombone; Osterg, guitar; Ben Richter, piano; Max Mello, bass; Julius Rogers on drums. So I'd like to invite the seniors to the podium for the interview. So I'll just jump right into it. What are your plans? No, I'm just kidding. I hate that question too. When I was about to graduate, I was just thinking to myself, I don't know what I'm doing.
I've been trying to come up with an answer too often the last week, so
So if you guys had to direct the ensemble, let's say John Hart cannot make it to the ensemble, and he asked one of you guys to lead the band, what is something that he would say after playing a tune? What's some of the common feedback?
He might talk about, I think he was talking about earlier about like blend and some of the more like deeper musical aspects as opposed to just like getting the melody or the chords together or whatnot. And then he might go on a tangent about a Portuguese bakery that's around the corner for 5 or so minutes. But I think that's our favorite part of the rehearsal.
I think the one thing that I've learned from John is that everyone is playing too loud. Like we're always trying to be a bit quieter, and it's what the music needs. I feel most of the time because we're too young and energetic sometimes. So,
The dynamics. Yeah, I think you guys did such a great job, or are doing such a great job today. Like we were saying before, these small details are what make the difference when listening to music on this side as the audience members. And of course, knowing about the bakery, I mean, you have to take a second to talk about these things because, at the end when you're a band leader, these little things are what kind of create that synergy between you guys. So how long have you been playing together? What week are we in for school?
Yeah, 6.
About 6.
Like that.
Got it. And this ensemble meets about how many times per week?
Twice a week.
Twice a week. And so do you guys have any upcoming music? So now that you performed this set of tunes, do you check out new tunes? What are the plans?
Yeah, I think we're just going to keep looking into the rep that he's had. I mean, because he has like 100 and something compositions, so there's a lot for us to check out. We've only done like 12, probably.
Is there anything in particular that you are looking forward to from the repertoire of Wayne Shorter?
Personally, I want to do stuff off of this record called Eminon, which he did with like the symphony.
Oh wow, I'm not familiar with that one.
Yeah, it's just really pretty. So I want to.
Was that later on in his career?
Yeah, that was like 2018, so it's super new, I guess.
Yeah, I remember I was in Boston in 2021, and it was at the time where he was premiering the opera Iphigenia with Esperanza Spalding. And I remember he was really sick at the time, and I got my tickets, and I was so ready to go. And then, unfortunately, he wasn't able to make it that night. But if this record is anything like that music, I'm sure it's really amazing.
Yeah, it's like the same stuff. Or not the same, but it's similar.
So now that you've had a chance to think about it, are you guys staying in Miami for some more music making? Where are you thinking of heading off to post-graduation?
I definitely want to stick around Miami for a little bit. I really like it here. I grew up in West Palm Beach.
Oh, got it.
So it's kind of close to home. And yeah, I'm just going to stick around, gig, teach, make a living around here.
Yeah, I'm also probably trying to stay here. It's just a nice place, and it's. I'd love to spend another 2 years working with John for my grad, school stuff. But
Amazing.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Well, I'll give you guys a secret that won't be a secret anymore because I'm going to say it live on the air. Miami is a great place, period. And it's also a great place for making music. As a musician, there are so many opportunities to actually get involved with different organizations. There are so many opportunities for grants if you're an artist. Opportunities for performing, for teaching. Asha and I teach together on Saturdays. So no matter what you decide to do, there's no wrong choice. But we thank you here at WDNA for joining us today. And we're all looking forward to listening to the rest of the music. So we have, I guess, one more tune. This next one is entitled Yes or No, Wayne Shorter, off of the record Juju, the Wayne Shorter Ensemble, under the direction of John Hart on WDNA 88.9 FM. show. What a way to close the show. Yes or no? Wayne Shorter here on WDNA 88.9 FM. What an amazing arrangement.
Thank you.
BBC News coming up next. And next week, the debut of the Richard Todd Ensemble with 8 French horns with rhythm section, playing the arrangements of program director at Frost and jazz artist Richard Todd. Live performance here on WDNA 88.9 every Thursday at 11 a.m.